إفادة للشهود. يشرفنا أن يتواجد الشهود معنا اليوم.
It is the privilege to have witnesses here with us today, and we are mindful of the distance that one needs to travel when you tell your story publicly in the hope for justice. But when you know that justice cannot yet be rectified. However, the witnesses, both Palestinian and Jewish, having agreed to take part in this process, are making steps to make this justice a reality. You, the witnesses, are the most important people in the room. And here today and previously, we have done all that we could to maintain your well-being, and we are aware that these attempts are not complete. We will keep all your private details confidential, particularly in light of the racist war being taken. You are very courageous to come forward and tell your story. The stories will illuminate our way. We will also keep you informed and remain in contact with you after this meeting today. Today we have Judy and Bader that will work to accompany the witnesses to ensure no one experiences trauma again. This is initiative of civil society. It's not affiliated with any state institutions, has no legal authority. It has no authority to provide reparations, amnesties, rights, or any other right as that may arise. I'm going to ask now the first interviewer to come up so that we can begin with the testimony of the first witness for the day, for the first session, sorry. Hello to everybody. I have the honor to invite Mr. Salamah Abu Bade. He is our witness right now, the first to speak in the session. If you would come to the stage, sir. Hello. I will be asking you questions. First of all, I would like you to introduce yourself. What is your name? Were you born? What year were you born? So forth. Where is your family from? Where do you live today? If you would. My name is Salamah Abu Bade. I was born in 1927. I was and remain in Al-Adia. What else do you want to know? We invited you here today so that you can testify to what happened in Lagi in 52. No, not in 48, but rather in 1952. Perhaps you could tell us where you were at the time, what happened to you, what happened around you in that year. Tell us what happened from your point of view. It's hard. No. You ask me, but this is a testimony. Everybody has their own testimonial that reminds them or brings to memory things that happened throughout their life. The witness has to have an accused or defendant before them, an accuser and a defendant before them. But at the end of the day, the testimony can result in whether you in fact accuse or allegate against the defendant, yes or no. Now, had we had today somebody, the person that you testify against, it would be more powerful, more forceful, and it would be better, I think, for the Truth Committee. But let me say about myself, you invited me to come speak. Can a committee understand my rights or ensure or promise me my rights so that I can continue to talk about these experiences and others can come up themselves? Hajj, a few moments ago, Nassim read a disclaimer and talked about the role of the committee. Excuse me, but it is our role to present before people what happened. We are not a government. We are not a committee that is going to enact rights, whether it's Palestinian or not. We today would like to hear from people firsthand what they experienced. That is fine, but let me tell you, I have no problem telling you my story, but as long as the defendant or accused is not present and the judge is not present, the committee must take things most seriously and voice our testimonies to committees abroad and put it in their hands and then bring both sides before a judge. Okay, Hajj, again, let us come back to your testimony. The committee. We will take your remarks into consideration. Please tell us about the events that transpired. I told you I have no problem telling you my testimony. Okay, then please, sir, testify. With all due respect to the attorneys and the road and others, this is not a court of law. We are not trying. This is not a trial. Is this a court that I'm testifying? But I have no problem testifying. Okay, so we are not a court of law. Sir, I cannot hear very well. You must excuse me, but I have a hearing impairment, and you must speak more loudly.
لازم اقول الميكروفون.
الهدف من اللجنة، أنا فاهم اللي عمالك تحكيه، أنا فاهم المحل اللي أنت موجود فيه لأنه إحنا
I understand what you are saying, sir. I understand your point of view. A great number of our people feel the same. Your story has been silenced for 60, 70 years. This story has not been told and not been legitimized or given a platform, a stage. We hope that one day we will be able to find ourselves in a day in which we will conduct a trial and there will be recommendations that will be voiced. It is our role today, sir, to reveal stories because we don't even have the knowledge yet. I'm sorry, but my hearing is not very good. I didn't hear exactly what he said. I think he attacked me. No, sir, he did not attack you. What Wasim was trying to tell you is that the committee today is not a court of law. Because our story, the Palestinian story, what happened to you in 1948, in 1951, 52, and so forth, no one of the broad public has heard your story. The young people don't know these stories. I am talking about reality. This is what we need to have. Yeah, that is true, sir. Please don't placate me and telling me that I'm right. I think I'm saying very truthful things. Can you please try to begin? Tell us your story. What do you want from me now? We want you to tell us as accurately as possible what happened to you. What happened to me or to my tribe? To you and your tribe, sir. Tell me if you want my personal story or that of my family and my extended family, the clan. Tell us what happened, who was there. Tell us a little bit about your experiences. What happened was what happened was I'll come closer to you, sir, and hold the mic so that you can be heard. What happened was we became citizens of Israel, and we accepted the fact that the country had taken over the land, and we had become citizens of Israel. And each tribe was on its area, on its land. We got ID cards and we became citizens of the first order. After a few years, in the 1950s, in fact 1950 exactly, suddenly we felt that every week or two a delegation was being sent to us of IDF officers. And they had a document, a piece of paper, on which it was written on this piece of paper names. They took the names, this name such and such, give us your ID card. Give us ID card. You stay here. You do that. After these soldiers did their assignment, they told the people who they'd taken their ID cards, now you are expelled from this land. Every week or two, this was what they would do. They expelled one family, 3 families, 4, and these people left. Then one day, Hajj Ibrahim, may he rest in peace, went to to Michael, to the military commissioner, and said, look, a tribe without a sheikh cannot exist. Meaning they are leaderless in that way. Now I have a third of my tribe gone, and you expelled them. Now I have a piece of paper, and I can tell you, according to this paper, which families have left my area. From Zuera, for example, from the south. When this tribe is transferred to Gaza. If you continue with your actions, then take my ID card too. And I will follow in the footsteps of my expelled tribesmen. And the commissioner said, that's it. From now on, nobody's going to come to you, and nobody's going to come and take your ID cards or expel you. And the sheikh went home and said, okay, and he was at peace. Then Ibrahim's brother was put in jail. Why was he in jail? He was called Khalil. I don't know why he was jailed. I can only remember that he was accused of some sort of political activity. Now, Hajj Ibrahim if he accepted this way of life, because of his imprisoned brother, I don't know, but he accepted the state of affairs. Then in 1951, several families moved into Hajj Ibrahim's area, and these families were then expelled for no reason. Suddenly they were expelled. 4, 5 tribes were expelled in 1951. I think maybe it was in July. Hajj Ibrahim was told, you have to leave as well. And he said, where will I go? Where will I take my tribe? And they said to go to Tel Arad. and settle there. And Haj Ibrahim said in response, why Tel Arad? I've never been there. Is it a good place for me? Is it better than the place that I live here now, that I inherited from my father and grandfather? So in short, that he was told a story that he'd never ever considered. But people were smuggling at the time. All of the tribes were active in smuggling because the days were hard at the time. It was hard. And Sanya, the Sanya extended family, were accused of killing a Jewish guy. Now, there was no tribe left except for Sanya, because everybody migrated from their original place. Now the only obstruction left was Sanya. Now Haj Ibrahim told them, I'm sick of this life. My tribe's people are no longer here. I don't have a tribe anymore. I will go after them. Take my son out of jail and I'll be willing to leave, because a sheikh without his tribe is pointless. He was told, sign this piece of paper that you promised that if we let go of your son, you will leave. And he signed this piece of paper, and they promised him that the next day they would set his son free, even though it was at the height of the harvest and there was a great harvest that year. And that means that we wanted to leave the barley and the wheat, we would have to leave them behind. After a week, Haj Ibrahim was told, stay this year, don't leave yet. Your son has to be another 6-7 months in jail. When he concludes his jailing, everything will be all right. And we said, okay, and we settled down. They said, we'll think about it in regards to leaving. Then after a certain period of time, they came to us and said, give us your weapons. Anybody who has a license, and we gave the weapons. We got licenses for the weapons, and that was fine. Then after Khalil, Haj Ibrahim's son, Bassana, got out of jail, after he was released, and it was a good harvest, as I told you, that year, and we made lots of profit, and there was a great crop. We began bringing from this crop and from what we had sown, we began reaping the crop, the barley and the wheat, and suddenly they came to us and said, now you have to leave. Where do we leave for? And what about our crop? It's still, in the fields. I mean, we stayed for this crop. Where will we go now? And that is one of the problems that and this is what Haj Ibrahim said, you told us to remain, so we sowed and we now want to harvest. Instead of agreeing and talking amongst ourselves and deciding on coming some sort of compromise, suddenly you want to expel us. That's impossible to accept. In any case, that's that we were forced to do. We were forced to leave mid-harvest. We were not allowed to take anything. We had to leave all our possessions and everything in the ground. We left it there in the fields, outside. Everything had to be left behind. Please tell us how you were expelled. The actual event itself. Where were you? I'll tell you in a moment. Don't tell me. You don't need to prompt me. I'll tell you everything. We don't have a long time, sir, so we have to sort of rush this. Suddenly, on one afternoon, one day, the trucks came to our area. Trucks, military trucks.
مشينا على حبال البيوت وقطعن فيهن وهدمون.
And the trucks started, they started cutting the ropes of the tents, and they left the trucks on the side, and they wanted to put all of the people, and we wanted to take all of our furniture and put them on the trucks. And then they did something that is unacceptable. They took batons and started hitting people, and some people's arms were broken. Yes, their arms were broken. Two of them, I recall, Ihsan al-Jahar and who was a 70-year-old man. And I remember Yusuf Abati, who's still alive today. His arm was broken. And I was standing next to my home, and there was a vehicle or a truck close to my home, and there was an officer there, a military officer, who was not participating in the assignment. And I told Ibrahim, my uncle, I am one man. If I leave, how will I leave my herd and my girls and my fields? And the officer said, where is your home? I said, here, the one that you just demolished. And he said, don't leave. Really, I'm telling you what this officer said to me. He said, don't leave. He didn't participate in this at all. He told me, don't leave. And then I said, no, but I can't stay here by myself without my family, without my friends and family and so forth. I told him, and he was silent. So in short, they forced us to leave. We left all our possessions behind. We left for Tel Arad. Meaning, he said, take whatever you want with you. We put our things on the camels and we started walking all the way to Erwawa, which is on the border with Jordan. And there we put our possessions. And then there we were authorized to leave for a week so that we can go back to our tents and gather our things and possessions. Those who could did so. Those who didn't have time didn't manage it. Some of our possessions were left behind. We stayed there on the border encampment for 40 days. We couldn't cross the border. If Jordan wouldn't accept us, we can't leave. Now, within the tribe, we asked Hajj Ibrahim, we were asked what had happened in those 40 days, and he said, I'm giving you the details. He said, I went to meet people over the border in Jordan. I went to the Jordan, I entered Jordan and met the big boss of Jordan. Hajj Ibrahim told me that, said, you are the first, you are among the first in your tribe that have been on trial, that will be on trial in Geneva, and the court said that you must return, that you have to return according to court edict. Was there a trial? Who turned to the courts? What trial are you talking about? The countries went to trial. Which? Israel or Jordan went. Jordan turned to the courts and asked, how can it be that citizens that were citizens of the state and were conquered now are expelled? And there was a verdict, and they told Hajj Din that we have to return. So Jordan told Hajj Ibrahim that there is a court decision in Geneva telling him that you must be returned. I don't know if it was Geneva or wherever it was, but the big boss in Jordan told Hajj Ibrahim that there was a trial conducted in our issue and that of our tribe, and that have been expelled from their area, and we accepted the court decree that we have to return. And we returned. And the Hajj was not happy that we had returned. That's the truth. He wasn't happy that we had come back. We prepared for leaving. Somebody from Hebron came to us and said to us, prepare. The state of Israel is going to take you back again. So we prepared ourselves, and after maybe for the day next, and the next day they in fact arrived. And we said to this officer in Hebron, we asked him, where are you going to take us back to? And he said, we're going to take you back to your original lands. And we were very happy. Thank God we're going back to our original lands. And suddenly they came to us with trucks, many trucks. And we said, okay, thank you, let's go. Every 4 or 5 families, put them on a truck. After we took everybody on the trucks, and after all of the trucks were full and loaded, we were kind of a convoy of trucks, and we began in one long convoy. When we came nearer to the place, we discovered they're entering into the dunes towards the east. Actually, they're taking us, and we had a verdict, and that we're supposed to go home. The sheikh and the people don't know what's happening and what's going on. In any case, we got to El Melach, and there wasn't even enough water to drink there. They put us next to the well there on a land that there's nothing around it, except there's nothing but sand in the area. And they thought that that's something that we would accept.
أسبوعين 3 لا داعي ولا مجيب. المهم يوم من الأيام.
We stayed there for 2 weeks.
We stayed there for 2 weeks, and then we heard the Hajj saying to us, in the morning, be ready. We want to go and see where our home will be. We want to stay in Tel Arad. So there were a couple of youngsters who got ready, and they went with Hajj Ibrahim, and there was Ibrahim Saner, and Abu Mamter was there as well. And so we went there. They went there, and they looked at the place, they examined it, and they agreed because that was what was offered. And then they came back to us and they said, tomorrow you have to leave because you're going there. The following morning, we got the camels ready. We took our things with us and we reached the place. And that is when I remember, maybe it was on the 1st of November. Which year? I think it was the 1st of November, 52. That's where we reached. That's the place we reached, and that's where we stayed. They showed us the borders of the area that we were allowed to cultivate. So for the first year, we cultivated them, and then they said, okay, that's yours. The first year, we didn't pay any rent. I think the second or the third year, the second I don't think we did either. I think it was the second or the third year, they suddenly said, we do need to pay rent on the land. What can you do? God said in his holy book that you have to obey you have to obey the ruler. And so we were the slaves. So that's what happened. And so on the 24th of November, if I'm not mistaken, Hajj Ibrahim passed away. You're talking about 52 still? Yes, 52. That was even before they asked for the rent. How did he pass away? I think that he died maybe in December. Actually, I'm not sure. No, I think it was November. No, I think it was the end of November. He died. How did he die? Was it pressure? Was he murdered? No. It was emotional turmoil. He was under too much pressure after everything he saw. The government had wielded too much pressure on him. And so he died heartbroken. We were sitting together. We sat together at night, and I was just 20 meters from his home, and I came from his home to my home. I left him sitting, but when I got home, suddenly I heard people screaming. So I quickly went back, and I found that he had died. I hadn't even managed to sit down. I mean, that's how it happened, and that's how we were left. So people asked, after he died, they started asking for rent. That's the way it was the whole time. They kept finding new things to ask of us. And in the 60s, there was quiet, there was a lull, and there was a hope that yes, we're paying rent, but at least we're in our homeland still. We forgot issues, we forgot our homeland. And I was then about 24, 25, and basically I forgot that whole wish. There was a calm, tranquil life with our neighbors on our side, on their side, until even with the Jordanians as well. And you know, they were what is now on the West Bank. They were good neighbors to us, and we were good neighbors to them. There were never any problems between us. And the neighborhood were good with. I would now like to thank you very much, and let us enable the members of the Truth Commission to ask you questions. If they ask you a question, please could you answer and supply whatever you wanted to say and you didn't have a chance to say before. But I'd like to continue talking. Yes, but some of the questions that are going to be asked, they will ask about things that happened later on. So you'll be able to tell what the more you want afterwards. But I want to continue now with what I wanted to say. No, I'm afraid we have to wait until we hear what they want to say, and then we'll allow you to add after the questions. Are there any questions? Please sit down. Hajj, please sit down. They say that you may carry on. So after we were calm and tranquil and we understood that we'd reached our place, our location, and so we forgot the place that we had come from. And suddenly they came with another idea, and they said, now we want to create a settlement for you. And we didn't really agree to that. We sort of maneuvered. And so one day they said, we want to bring the sheikh. So we had a new sheikh, Mansour Sanna, who was the brother of the Hajj. And we were sitting there all together in the sort of Khan, and there were a couple of them there. I remember the person who was the mayor of Rahat, that who created the person who created the problem with Salamah Zen. Yes, I know him personally. Yeah, if I see him, I'll recognize him. So all the elders gathered, and I was the youngest of that group. How old were you? Maybe 47. What year was that? What year was it? Maybe in 75. I think it was 1974, 1975. Because I was born in 76. No, I came to Lagia. We will create a settlement and we will develop it for you, and we will bring you water, electricity, we will give you education, we will. But may all those elders rest in peace, but I'm not sure whether they really represented us. So they didn't ask me to perhaps represent everyone, but I did, and I found myself talking to them. And I said, listen, we are Bedouin. We live the lives of Bedouins, and we always will be Bedouins. Even if you put us in palaces, we will remain Bedouin. And I personally, if you talk about water, I will always say the truth. I am from Lagia, and I came to Beersheba when I was just 8 years old, and I brought water from Beersheba. Many a time I used to draw the water from the well in Lagia. When someone wants a barrel of water from there, one needs to spend an entire day just filling it up. But we used to love doing that. So you're telling me that there was a well of water in Laguia, so why did you go and bring water from Beersheba? Because the well, it actually, from time to time, it just dried up. The water was never sufficient. So we said, okay, leave us, go. If you tell us go, and please just leave us alone. We don't want water. We don't want electricity. We don't want houses from you. Anyone wants to build a house, they'll build a little house, a big house. They'll do what they want to do. So they started looking at each other, sort of right, left, and they didn't like what I was saying. In short, they really didn't like what I was telling them, and they really got cross. And Ibrahim Abu Bade was with them, and when they got irritated, they said, we're going. And I said, where to? They said, to Beersheba. Yes, we're going to Beersheba. We always had various issues in Beersheba, so I said, take me with you. And they said, okay, come with us. So they got up, but they were angry. I could see that they were angry. So when I got to the car, that guy said to me, who's that guy? That Jew that was the mayor of Rahat, of the municipality of Rahat. Visoker? Was that his name? The mayor of Rahat? No, I don't remember his name. But I remember his face. If I see him, I'll remember him. So when we got to the car, he looked at me sort of a bit angrily, and he said, you know Salamah? And I said, yes. Salamah's in the jail. What, are you trying to hint that you want to put me in the jail? Okay, take me, put me. So he kept very quiet after that. So I got into the car with them, and I was in the back seat, and they were in the front seat. And after we traveled about a couple of kilometers near Dirjat, they started looking at me and they said, you know Hebrew? And I said, no, I don't speak Hebrew. I still don't know any Hebrew. And they said to me, listen, you are the only one, and you're even the youngest of all of that Hamula, and you started talking to us? Yes, perhaps I'm their representative and you don't know that, but you said our land, etc., etc. Yes, I will tell you the truth. There is no one who has land that is not registered in the land registry. I said, not true. There are lots of people like that, and I'm one of them. And now, Hajj, the commission, these members here have said that they're interested in the years between 48 and 60. You told us about that period, and then you told us about the period after 1960. We want to hear not after, not post-1960, we want to hear before, because that period of time is what the commission, the Truth Commission, is interested in. How do you think that what the solution should be? The solution, I don't think that Israel ever wants to solve anything. I think what we have now is considered sweet in comparison to what we will have tomorrow. I want to be a beggar in my own land, on my land. I just want this land to remain for my son. I want to bequeath it to my son and grandchildren. They're not willing to even let it to me. But I try in an indirect way, asking for someone to let it, and then I can cultivate it. I do it rather than a stranger cultivating. They have position two families beside me. On one side, three family on the other side, and it's as if I'm stuck in the middle and even willing to be there to do that. Where is your land? Well, now we have the history. Tor el-Hammam is no longer here, but you know Abu Darwish? Yes, I know him, but the audience doesn't know him. So my land is actually bordering on Abu Darwish. On the road, it's 420 dunams that I have, close to Hebron, between the valleys, the wadis. They changed my status from an owner to a refugee. I'm telling you, between Abu Darwish and the road. But do you understand? You explain to them. You understand. Abu Darwish is a family that is in Lagia, west of Road 60, very close to the Hebron. No, it's quite distant from the square in Hebron. Yes, it's very distant. No, is the land far? Yes, my land is between that and the road. There's only one farmer, I'm talking about Road 60. And in Hebrew, it's called the Hebron Beersheba Road. Are there any questions? Well, thank you very much. I would like to thank you for having come. Inshallah, let us hope that we will be in touch so that we can do something. There is one short question. No questions. Thank you once again, and I'm sure we'll be in touch with you. The Commission has not concluded its work. Today we're meeting with witnesses, and we will be in touch with you. Today you gave your testimony. I will just give them dry words because they should establish a committee, a commission that has some authority. This is not a commission. Maybe they will be the trigger of good work that will raise the awareness of the public. But we need a committee wherein there will be an accuser and a defendant, and there should be a justice who will rule between them. Yes, inshallah, if God wishes it, that we should come to a time where it will be judged and the things will be brought to court. And then I will say much more severe things than I actually said here. Thank you very much for that very deep and wide, comprehensive survey. Very significant.